Hello children, how are you all? I hope all of you are fine. So the last chapter which we had covered in the videos which you have already seen is the skeletal system and the muscular system. So now it's time for us to move on with the video of the next chapter, that is sound and noise. So in this chapter you will be learning about sound and noise. So you all are familiar with the different sounds and the noises, right? So in this chapter you are going to learn about what sound is and the difference between the sound and the noise. Okay, so in this chapter, more than pictures, you have to correlate it with your life experiences, children, about the sounds and the noises. Okay, fine, let us begin up with the class. So yes, sound and noise. So sounds, you know what are sounds? So sound is nothing but, in the scientific manner, if we are learning in science the chapter sound is a form of energy. Yes, so like your different forms of energy, sound is also a form of energy. So when we can hear a sound, so when sound has to be heard, there should be a body which is producing vibrations. So sound can reach a person's ear through the vibrations. So when a body or a part of a body vibrates, sound is produced. So the vibrations pass through air. So air becomes a medium for us to reach the sound to our ears. So sounds are produced by the vibrations which are produced by a body. So I am speaking, so whatever the words that I am speaking, if it has to reach to you people, that my voice has to reach you by the vibrations that is produced by the words that I am speaking, which travels through the air and finally it reaches your ears, and that is how you can listen to anything, whether it is a song or a person's speech or anything. Your voice, if it has to be heard, it has to be done through the vibrations that are moving through the air. So the moment vibrations stop, the sound too stops. So if the vibrations are not reaching the air, you cannot hear to the sound which you are hearing. So sound is just heard to you because of the vibrations that is produced, and air becomes a medium for reaching those vibrations that is produced by the sound to your ear. So sound is a form of energy and it reaches us by the vibrations through the medium air. Yes, I was speaking a lot about vibrations. First, you have to understand what vibrations are. So sound is produced by vibrations caused by a body or vibrations caused by in a body. So whether a body is producing vibrations or in a body vibrations are happening, only through those things you can understand or listen the sound. So in order for these vibrations to travel, air is required as medium. As I told, the vibrations travel through the air, children. Only when vibrations are traveling we can hear the sound. So sound is like whatever we are speaking, or a person singing, or the whistling sound of the leaves, rustling or whistling sounds, then the barking of the dogs, or the vehicles that are produced by the horn of the vehicles. Everything, each and every thing becomes a sound here, and all those sounds to be heard by us is because of the vibrations that is produced by a body or in a body. So sound cannot travel through a vacuum. So vacuum means empty space, alright. So when vibrations are not produced, without vibrations, vacuum is the absence of vibrations. So in the absence of vibrations, the sound cannot travel. So sound can travel through air only when a body is producing a vibration. So see here. So if you switch on the radio, you can listen to the song. If that song has to be heard to you, the vibrations has to travel through the air. So this is how the vibrations will travel in the air. So what all produces the sounds? So common objects which we use, everything produces one or the other type of sounds. So most of the objects around us produce a sound when they are struck by some other objects. So sound cannot be individual. When one object is struck by another object, sound will be produced. So in your house itself, you can take a plate and take a spoon in the other hand. You start banging that plate through the spoon, by the spoon, so you can hear the sounds. Yes, like this, the common objects which we are using in our day-to-day life, when they come in contact with any other objects, they produce the sound. So these sounds vary under different conditions depending upon the intensity with which the objects are struck. So the intensity is how loud you can hear the sound. So how greatly or how loudly you bang one object with the other, the more will the intensity of the sound you listen. Fine? Yes. So the sounds can be classified as the musical sound and noise. Yes. So noise is not that good for us. Yes. So you will not be happy by the noise which is produced. So you can come to know the difference between the musical sound and noise in this slide, children. So when the vibrations occur at the regular time intervals, it is called a musical sound. So whatever the vibrations that is produced is only being heard as a sound. So when that vibrations are happening at a regular intervals of time, so smoothly if the vibrations are moving, then whatever the sound that we are able to listen to it will be considered as the musical sound. So musical sound will be produced by the musical instruments like the guitar, piano, or even the mouth organ. Yes. So in all such musical instruments, the sounds produced will travel through the air as vibrations at regular interval of times. In a smooth manner they travel, and so the sound which we are able to hear is considered as musical sound. Yes, the opposite of that, where the vibrations are not happening at the regular intervals of time, the sound that you hear will be considered as the noise. Yes, barking of dogs or the vehicles on are not very pleasant to hear. So such voices or the noise that are produced is produced by the vibrations which are not happening in the regular intervals of time. So musical sound and noise depends upon how the vibrations are traveling. If the vibrations are traveling at regular intervals of time, then it is considered to be the musical sound, and if the vibrations are not occurring at regular intervals of time, it is considered as noise. As I told, musical sounds are produced by musical instruments. So let us learn few examples of the musical instruments. So string instruments. So string instruments are the instruments which consist of string. When you strike those strings, noise will or the sounds will be produced which will be pleasant to hear. So such instruments which consist of strings are known as string instruments like guitar, violin, sitar, ektara and sarangi. So these are all the different string instruments. And percussion instruments which requires the hands. So by the support of the hands itself you can beat the drums or the tabla or the dholak. So which depends upon the beating of our hands are known as percussion instruments. And wind instruments like your flute, shennai, or the saxophone or the mouth organ, which travels through the air, are known as wind instruments. Not only the musical instruments produces musical sounds, even nature is producing a wonderful sound. Nature means it involves the plants and animals, right? Yes, plants also produce sound and animals are also producing sounds. So you might have, when the breeze comes, you can listen to the rustling of the leaves. Yes, the leaves will be carried from one place to another by the breeze that comes. So that produces a sound. So the plants or the leaves of the plants rustle when the wind blows. So nature is such a wonderful thing, children. It is giving us everything. It produces sound and is giving us the required materials. So we must always be thankful for our nature. Yes, you know, animals produce sounds. Like us, animals cannot speak, but they communicate in their own language. We cannot understand their language. That doesn't mean that they are not communicating between one another. So they produce their own sounds. Like you might have heard of barking of dogs, chirping of the birds, and if you switch on the National Geographic channel, you can explore about the animals in a wonderful manner, children, how they produce their young ones and how they produce the sounds and what are the different voices that are produced by the animals and the birds. Everything you can watch there. We can recognize animals by the sound they produce. Yes, how do we differentiate between the animals? So you know the difference between a monkey or a chimpanzee or a tiger or a lion. How do we differentiate them, or how do we identify the different animals? We are identifying the different animals by their voices or the sounds that they are producing. Yes, we are speaking. Yes, human voice. We have a voice. How are we speaking? So we have a voice box. Yes, we have voice box, the vocal cords. So the lungs, when we speak, the air flow from the lungs. So when we are speaking, what happens is the air flow from the lungs vibrate the vocal cords in our voice box. So your throat consists of the vocal cords, that is known as the voice box, and when air is passing through the lungs, it strikes the vocal cords and it produces the voice. The voice box is also called as the larynx. So voice box is also called as the larynx, children, and it has the vocal cords, and when the air is flowing through the lungs, it strikes the vocal cords and it is producing the voice. Yes, what happens inside the vocal cords? When the vocal cords inside the voice box vibrate, they produce sound. So when the air passes through the vocal cord, it is vibrating. That vibrations that is produced is making the sound. So we hear this sound as it reaches our ears through the brain. So the signal will be passed to the brain, and from there we can listen to the sound that is produced. So sounds are classified into two types: pleasant sound and unpleasant sound. How it is heard to our ears, whether it is melodious or it is very harsh, depending upon the way we hear the sounds are classified as pleasant sound and unpleasant sounds. So sounds such as chirping of birds and various musical instruments are pleasant to our ears. So the songs or the instruments, the sounds that are produced by the musical instruments are all very pleasant to hear. So whichever the sounds are very pleasant to our ears are considered as the pleasant sound. So as I told before itself, before the beginning of the chapter itself, this chapter is nothing more to understand, children, through the live examples that you just listen to the day-to-day life, you can understand this chapter. Nothing more to explain in this chapter, so I cannot produce the different sounds and make you understand this chapter. Just you have to understand how you are able to hear. It is because of the vibrations that is traveling through the air, you are able to differentiate between the different types of sounds, whether it is produced by the plants or the animals, or by a human being. Yes, so nature is so wonderful. It always produces the pleasant sounds which are very soothing for our ear. Unpleasant sound, as I told, so the sound which is very harsh, which you cannot bear for a long distance or long time, all those sounds are known as unpleasant sounds. So sounds like horns of the vehicles or the loud music during function times and all, they'll put huge mics, and the sounds that are produced through such a big mics are all not very good to hear. Yes, and also when they dig the borewells and all, the sounds of the cutting of stones, examples of barking of a dog, or all such harsh voices are not very pleasant to hear. So such sounds which are not pleasant to hear and which irritate us when heard for a long time is known as unpleasant sounds. Yes, examples you can see, the ambulance sounds also, it irritates us only for few seconds. If it is heard, okay fine, there is an emergency, you can allow the vehicle to move, but continuously if it is heard, you cannot bear that. And the horn and the noises that are produced in the industries and the barking of the dogs are all examples for unpleasant sound. And finally, there is one more type of sound known as warning sounds. So warning, as a word itself indicates, we are being warned by something. So by listening to those sounds, as I told earlier, the sound of the ambulance just warns the people that there is some emergency for a person who has to just be admitted to the hospital. So by listening to the sound that is produced by the ambulance, people make the way for that ambulance. Like that, there are some sounds which warns us. So let us learn what are the warning sounds. So it is used to warn or indicate something of an emergency or some important things to be heard by a person. So sirens are used as warning sounds in vehicles. Yes, in vehicles sirens will be used. Even the horns of your vehicles can also be a warning that somebody is coming behind us. So without a horn in a vehicle, it cannot move. You cannot take the vehicle to the road without the horn. Yes, so such sounds which are used to warn people are called as warning sounds. So all the ambulances has the sirens, fire engines, the police vans and all the fire alarms. All these vehicles have sirens which indicates that there is an emergency. So when you learnt about sound and noise, nowadays the noise pollution is increasing. So what is noise pollution? So in the sound and noise chapter, you also will be learning about noise pollution. So what is pollution? So the sounds which irritates us for a prolonged time duration produces the noise pollution. So yes, the presence of the unwanted noise in the surrounding is called as the noise pollution, which sounds which will not be necessary. Such noise which are present or which will be happening in the surroundings are all producing the noise pollution. So what are the sources of this noise pollutions? Where all you can differentiate the musical sounds to the noise pollution? Yes, when excessive honking, yeah, that is the, yes, horning of the vehicles is also the source of noise pollution. Bursting crackers during Diwali, all the animals, if you have a dog at your house, you'll know how badly it suffers from the bursting of crackers. It is not very pleasant to hear. Yes, it damages the animals, so they can hear the voice, the 2 or 3 times more than what we are able to hear. Ourselves will not be able to bear that noise. Animals will be disturbed. And if you have aged person, even they'll have a negative health hazard due to the bursting of crackers. The bursting of crackers is not only producing the noise pollution, it's also producing the air pollution. And loudspeakers, stone crushing, yes. So all these and unpleasant sounds produces the noise pollution, children. And what are the harmful effects that are caused by the noise pollution? So as I told, it can lead to certain health issues. So it may lead to hypertension, which you had learnt in the food and health chapter. Yes, the stress will be increased when you are continuously hearing to the irritable sounds. And person which are exposed to long-term noise pollution can have hearing problems, and also it also causes lack of concentration. And how to control it? So whenever honk or use your vehicle's sirens whenever necessarily, and do not play audios loudly. Just if you have vehicles, put silencers and grow trees. Afforestation, so growing trees can absorb the noise, and factories and industries should be established away from the cities. So if factories and industries are near to the house or the people where they are surviving, it can produce lots of health issues. So that completes the chapter, children. So go through the video properly and just come back with your doubts. Thank you.